The import of things that we can produce here has not gone down. Indeed, recently you are quoted to have expressed worry about the high levels of importation of rice into Ghana. You even went as far as say that we even import flowers into Ghana. We look at the amount we spend on importing things like rice. The figure is actually going up. Frozen chicken.
I feel
sugar. So my question is, if we are trying to do agric, planting for food and jobs, and then 1D, 1F processing what we produce, how come we are not seeing the response in the import? Because the import figures are still going up. What's wrong?
What is wrong is policy to back your industrialization. When I was the Minister of Finance, my colleague in Nigeria told me at the ECOWAS Finance Ministers meeting that next 2 years, we shall ban the importation of rice. And I was chilled. I said, what? Ban importation of rice? He said, yes, Oga will do it. So they gave notice to the whole country that within the next 3 years, we are going to expand, which means that the government has a policy that is going to promote production and has imposed on itself a time limit. So that in the 3 years came, Nigeria banned the importation of rice. So you just don't talk about it. The late Major Courage Kwashiga, when he was Minister for Agric, we were importing $300 million of rice. And he promised that he will bring it down to 100 by the third year. On the contrary, it went to about 500 million in the third year. And as I lamented the other time, I think last 2 years, total rice import was about 1.35 billion US dollars. We cannot continue that way. So it means that we should not just be talking about these things. We should take certain.
So what have you done?
steps.
What have you put in place, Senior Minister? Because
I think the Minister of Agric is working very hard. The agric policy of one
planting for food and
jobs and rearing for food and export, etc., are now targeted at what is really the main problem of, let's say, rice in, production in Ghana. The main problem is the processing of the rice. People want to eat rice without stones in it. So if you have a situation where your processing is not of high quality, then you are likely to have. And the minister has put in place a system of bringing in facilities for processing that will lift up our processing qualitatively to a level that will enable
people
him.
say there are simpler things we can do. For example, we are doing school feeding program. We have hundreds of thousands of secondary schools students. If we are to insist that
you have literally answered the question.
No, but have we done it?
They are all policies that should, and I think the Minister of Agric, together the buffer stock and all the other agencies involved are working in this direction. You have the army to feed. You have the police to feed. You have the school children to feed. You have a captive market. A government has a captive market. And therefore, the government should have a policy that insists on the supply. The minister,
do you?
Oh, yes. The minister has met all rice importers and exporters, no exporters, importers, and they've had meetings and is encouraging them to turn their attention on distributing the meat in Ghana rice. They've had a series of meetings.
But honestly,
it's a mentality.
This can be direct. This can be a directive because it's a government program. So you don't need to have it.
But if you don't have production, you can't direct. You want to feed your school children with locally produced rice.
No.
The locally produced rice is not available.
No, but it is. If we look at the numbers the Agric Ministry is saying,
and what we are doing now,
the Agric Ministry.
So you must start with production, which Agric Minister has done and done very well. So I'm sure the Agric Minister is now in a position to move us in the direction of forcing the use of locally produced, say, rice.
There's a view that the
government budget.
There's a view that the import lobby is very strong, and that's why the government is unable
it's strong everywhere.
It's unable to decisively.
We should overcome it.
But they say they are powerful. They fund politics. Some of them are very influential in both NDC and MPP. So it's very difficult to implement policies that go against rice importers, chicken importers in particular.
I don't think it will work with the MPP this time around. I've talked to the Minister for Agric. He is also doing it in a very private sector-led motivation. He's talking to these importers and is encouraging them to change their own mindset in terms of rice distributing locally produced rice. And I think if we succeed in the processing, it should work.
Last week, the president was in the Volta region. A company is producing hundreds of thousands of bags of rice per week, locally made rice. They are milling the rice. They are ready to distribute. The Volta region is producing so much rice, I'm told that very soon they can feed the whole Ghana rice. So the production issue is being addressed, as you said. Let me read a quick story for you. Local poultry farmers demand government action on high poultry imports. This is November 12th, 3 days ago. And the story is by Anita Kisimiriku, 2 lines. Local players in Ghana's poultry industry have reiterated calls on government to consider placing a cap on the volumes of imported poultry products into the country. According to the association, they will be able to increase production with the requisite support from government to meet the shortfall that would be created by a deliberate reduction in imports. What's your comment on this?
I support it 100%. The government should try to confirm the production data, because we don't also want a situation where the local producers say we are producing X when indeed it is 0.5X. So when we are supporting the production data and the production data is right, I think this is the way to go, because this will really assist both the farmers and the poultry farmers. So you'll be assisting both sides. And I think we should just check on the facts and move gradually in that direction with policy.